Hello and welcome. A few years ago when I was doing my own personal project for Disney 365 movies, the Zombies film was the last film that I touched on within the Disney Channel Original Movie Month. Now, I have not reviewed another zombie film in that time frame, although there has been several that have come out. Yet, this last one that we're going to talk about today focuses on vampires. And therefore, if you're familiar with me, anything vampire-wise, I gotta check out and I gotta talk about. Now, unlike the Descendant films, where I have talked about every one, Zombies is a very interesting franchise because I know it's not my demographic. I know I'm definitely not the demographic for it. I'm not the demographic for Descendants either, and anything else that has been relevant to Disney Channel within the last 15 years. But it's still interesting to take a look at, because my argument always is, when they used to make DCOMs, they were family-friendly films that anyone could enjoy, and there were messages for both kids and for adults. And I feel the last 10 years, all of these films have been focused for kids and kids alone, and it's weird to be able to enjoy them if you're an adult. A lot of people could argue that, but for me, I have not personally enjoyed any of these films in that time frame. Again, I know I'm not in the demographic for it, but I watched this and I had a lot more questions than when I first started.
From what is shown in the trailer plot-wise, our main characters of the franchise, Zed and Addison, are now in college, and they're taking a summer break to go camping with two friends, but end up malfunctioning on the road, and by looking for help, stumble upon the two rivals, the Daywalkers and vampires.
If you're familiar with the zombie films, you'll know that every sequel deals with a different monster. So, the first one, it was zombies versus humans and learning to deal with diversity and fitting in, which was an underlining message for segregation and racism, which is important to teach kids. The second one dealt with figuring out who you are, as well as werewolves. And I'm not a personal werewolf fan, so I didn't have any attachment to the lore they created. But it really wasn't memorable to me, and the only thing I remember is their main character, Addison, kept trying to figure out who she is because she never felt like she fit in. Fair. I understand that message, I appreciate the message, and diversity is important. But otherwise, it was very, very forgettable for me. The third movie was about aliens invading Earth, because we're gonna be different, and instead of doing zombies, werewolves, then vampires, nope, aliens. And again, there were some good points about it. There were some better songs that I still will listen to on rotation in my Disney playlist, so I will give them credit for that. Some of the music has improved since the first one, and they have had some good songs since this entire franchise is a musical one, but also pretty forgettable. The aliens was better than the werewolves to me. I did appreciate the subtleties in the aliens, especially because there was a few characters that ended up being non-binary, and so I thought it was a really cool subtle way to teach kids that not everyone wants to be male or female, and sometimes it's they them. So positive message. I do love the progression that they're trying, and I do love little things like that for today's world for kids. But then that brings us up to today with the newest edition of this franchise, The Dawn of the Vampires.
Hey, am I glad to see you?
Daywalker! Vampires! Easy now. Oh, chill.
So right away, this one is also very different from the previous stories, and also very similar to Descendants 4, which this one is also the 4th edition of its franchise. They are both considered spin-offs to the series, because the main cast is not part of it compared to the cast that we met and grew to, I don't want to say love, because I did not love any of them, but I'm sure a lot of people did love them in the past. And instead, they only bring back a couple of the main cast members.
There's been a ton of different characters over the 4 films, but in terms of the main recurring characters, Addison, played by Meg Donnelly, and Zed, played by Mila Manhem, are back to hand off the series to our newcomers. Freya Skye plays Nova, our main Nepo Daywalker, and her father, although not as important, is played by Jono Roberts. This film was shot in New Zealand primarily, so there is a lot more New Zealand actors featured, which is nice. The head of the vampires and an aunt to our other main rival, Victor, although not too important as well, is another New Zealand-based actor, and she's played by Lisa Chappell. Victor is played by Malika Barton, who is a decently known Disney Channel actor apparently. This is the first time I'm learning about him because I'm old, but he is best known for being one of the siblings in Stuck in the Middle, a series that was on Disney 10 years ago, and also helped Jenna Ortega gain her fame. And then we have the other two friends that have returned. Werewolf Willa, played by Chandler Kinley, and Zombie Eliza, played by Kylie Russell. This is another casting choice I question, not because I follow the films closely, but I don't know why they only brought those two characters back when we've been introduced to so many more over the course of the previous films.
I would also like to take this time to flex on the fact that I got to see Milo in Little Shop of Horrors, and he was very interesting as Seymour, and this is a much better storyline all the way around than Zombies 4. Little Shop of Horrors is one of my favorite films of all time and favorite Broadway shows, so I didn't go to see Little Shop because of Milo. I just think it's funny that he was a part of it, and this is the only place I'm able to talk about it while it's relevant. So there you go.
Also, on a personal observation, it's insane how many fangirls he has. Little Shop is playing at an off-Broadway theater, so it's a lot smaller and intimate of a show, which is amazing. But as soon as he stepped on the stage, I felt like I was at a concert with the amount of girls screaming for him.
Also, Liz Gillies was amazing and phenomenal, and I loved her as Audrey, even though she is Nickelodeon and not Disney.
When we stepped outside, these were the amount of people already waiting at stage door to try and see Milo and Liz.
So yes, I have a personal connection to this franchise now because I got to see Milo in person, even though I have not met him yet.
I have heard nothing but praise about how he interacts with his fans though, and any videos I've seen from him on TikTok, he's nothing but excited and kind, and we love a humble celebrity. He was the last one to leave the stage during curtain call. I'm just pleasantly surprised with how much energy he always has. It's like he was typecasted to play Zed because he acts very similar in real life.
He is a phenomenal singer. I love his voice, and everyone in this franchise is fantastic. They're really great performers, especially the newcomers. And I was so impressed by Nova, the actress that played Nova, and I was so impressed to learn how young she actually is. She's only 15, and she is phenomenal. Her voice is phenomenal. They all were great. So in terms of like the cast, of course the cast does an amazing job with what they're given. The problems are more along the lines of the storyline, the lore, and how they handle introducing each of the monsters. The idea of vampires are really interesting because there are a lot of different ways that their lore goes. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different abilities that they have. Some of them sparkle, like in Twilight. Most of them drink blood, and a lot of them are obviously immortal. A lot of them cannot do garlic. There are very common qualities that come in mind when you think of vampires, and a lot of their lore does fall similar to each other. And vampires are a hyperfixation to me. They've always been a hyperfixation. I have adored vampires as a species, as a fantasy. I love anything vampire media. So this also was why I was very intrigued to watch it, because they are called vampires. There are the daywalkers and vampires, and I still don't understand what the daywalkers are supposed to be, because honestly, both the vampires and daywalkers have these abilities, as you see in the trailer even, that they are able to create sun balls, the daywalkers in a way, and the vampires have wind powers, which that did not make sense to me at all. And as I continued to watch this film, I just kept asking, what in the Dragon Ball Z is going on here? They were treating these monsters like they were superheroes. I think the daywalkers, I gave a little bit more leeway to, because they are more of a new creation. I still don't understand what the daywalkers were supposed to be, where they came from, what the lore was, because they were sun powered, so they were more, again, superheroes and not monsters whereas vampires are classic monsters. Beloved, everyone loves vampires, everyone knows vampires. They had their fangs. They were at night. They did not see the sun, even though they were totally fine to go into the sun. And yes, some variations of vampires can go in the sun. Sometimes they're just sensitive. And then you have Twilight, where they sparkle in the sunlight.
It's like diamonds.
This is the stupidest lore created for vampirism.
That's fine to change the lore. That's genuinely fine. But my main problem with the vampires is they did not drink blood. The Daywalkers did not drink blood. Not that they would. But instead, both the Daywalkers and the vampires were on the hunt for a blood fruit. They only ate fruit. And at least with the zombies, they did eat brains. That was established. The zombies ate brains. That is classic zombie lore. If you think of a zombie, you know they go for human brains. That's part of their lineage. That's part of their creations and their lore and the story of who they are. So why were the vampires never drinking blood in any capacity? Because that could have been done and it would have been fine. I don't understand why they had to tone it down and dumb it down and have them looking for a fruit instead of just saying, hey, we're vampires, we drink blood.
There have been plenty of vampire films made for families and kids to watch, so no argument can be made for that reason. There have been several vampire films and series featured on Disney Channel alone that have shown vampires having blood as a food and energy source that they need to survive. Some examples include My Babysitter's a Vampire, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, The Little Vampire.
They used to show Little Vampire on Disney Channel because I would watch it anytime it was on because I love The Little Vampire. It was never a Disney Channel original movie, but it was on during Halloween time enough and I adored that film. It was so cheesy and adorable and wholesome and fun, and that family just drank cow's blood. So you could do it. You could literally keep it so the vampires are truly vampires and they drink blood, but no, we had to do blood fruit. That was the first thing I hated about this film. Besides Addison and Zed and their friends that aren't really a part of the film, very, very, very background characters. Even Zed and Addison are very background characters. Like, this isn't their film. They're there, but it's not their story. It is being passed on to the two Romeo and Juliet clones that have their own separate love story.
I understand that I'm not the demographic market for these films, but can we get a little more creative about the storylines? It feels like every single DCOM musical within the past 20 years has followed the Romeo and Juliet rivals to lovers pipeline. High School Musical, Camp Rock, Descendants, Teen Beach Movie, the list goes on. I would appreciate seeing more creative musicals on Disney going forward. It can be done. There are thousands of musicals that already have unique and different plots.
There were no other adult figures in this film except for the father and the aunt. And I don't know anything about them. They did not give us any context to them, why it's one aunt that's in charge of the vampires or the father that's in charge of the Daywalkers. And I know it's a silly little kid's film, but I, like I said, had so many questions that I did not understand. And the more I watched it, the more questions came up.
The pacing was truly all over the place, and I felt like it was whiplash with everything that was going on. There was so much going on that didn't matter, and what they considered high stakes were truly low stakes if they didn't have all the interpersonal drama going on. 1 minute, the Daywalkers and vampires are fighting against each other, and then a minute later, everyone is fine. And this happened constantly. I also half understood the motives that Zed and Addison had. Zed was worried and focused about being chosen to be a player on the college football team, but I didn't understand why Addison was pushing to be the cheer captain when she's only a freshman in college. Like, don't stress, you're already on the team. But that was how they decided to start the Catalyst journey for them in order to meet the vampires and Daywalkers after all.
I kept a running list of things I wanted to talk about with this review on my phone, and I just love how it says, I have so many questions. Who created this camp and puzzles? How can you have a vampire species that doesn't drink blood yet follows the other rules? Why are most of the vampires not pale and the daywalkers not tan? That's something else that really drove me insane. If you're a daywalker and you're out in the sun all day, you're gonna be tan. Like, I was really thrown by that. And I know most kids are not gonna pay attention to that, but again, for the lore of it all. I am obsessed with vampires, so I'm gonna pay attention to this thing. Because this is a musical, there are a lot of songs, and just like every musical, it's either hit or miss depending on if you like the music or not. And a lot of these songs are very forgettable for me. The only one that was memorable and I really enjoyed was The Place to Be, which was the song that they premiered and advertised beforehand to gather attention towards the film and to market, to get everyone excited and hyped for this film. And it is a really, really great song, and I will probably be listening to the song going forward when it pops up on my Disney music. But otherwise, I couldn't tell you the rest of the music.
There's 12 songs on the official soundtrack, but none of the other ones are my vibe. It's very plot heavy within the lyrics, and also more spoken, lots of rap, than anything is sung to.
It's interesting looking back to seeing how DCOMs used to be compared to DCOMs now, even though they're not really considered DCOMs because they're more focused on putting them on Disney Plus as well as Disney Channel, but it's all in the same. And compared to 20 years ago where we would get a Disney Channel original movie almost every month, if not every month, it might be one movie per every couple of years. So it's very interesting to see it go from one opposite to the other. So far, the last couple of films have been tied within these franchises, Descendants or Zombies. And I feel like we're at this point where Disney is continuing to milk these franchises. And it's crazy because the first Zombies film came out in 2018 and we're down the line 7 years later, which is insane. It was 7 years ago that I did the Disney 365 reviews. Thankfully, I feel like I've improved a lot since then. Instead of creating something new and original, they're just milking and bringing more people in. And of course, these new actors are amazing. Just like I said, everyone does a great job that they're cast at. They are able to do well with what they're given. But I feel like there's such a lack of storyline that is memorable. And again, the fact that it's Descendants and Zombies are the two franchises that we have here, it's very interesting because they just both remind me of what we lost with Ever After High and Monster High. But that's my personal recollection. And Zombies is not the same as Monster High because they don't go to the same school compared to Descendants. All the fairy tales go to school together. Zombies are in their own world and they're just discovering monsters, so it is different enough from Monster High. But because I'm a Monsters fan, the lore doesn't match up to what I imagine it should, and it throws me off. But again, I understand that it's not my demographic and it will never be because I'm too old for it and it's for kids. But I just wish kids had better material to watch and learn from.
It's not the worst film in the franchise, and there's some good parts to it. I genuinely appreciated how slow the buildup is between Nova and Victor, and that they're only beginning their friendship by the end of the film. But otherwise, just like I said before, it's very forgettable. They also left this film on a cliffhanger, just like they did with Descendants, so I'm sure it's not the end of the zombies yet. I do wonder if Zed and Addison will return once more for a fifth one, but that's Zombies for now. Let me know if you watched it, if you liked it, or if not, and as always,
I hope you have a magical day and I will see you real soon.